In 1979, a man named Paul Benowitz started noticing strange electronic communications and waves coming from a mountainous region on the border of Colorado and Mexico that he believed were coming from a secret military base. We do know there are indeed top secret Cold War era underground missile installations in the area. Residents of Dulce, New Mexico, the closest town, have reported seeing UFOs in the area. Benowitz stated the communications he intercepted were terrifying and not of this world. And to this day, the existence of this base has not been confirmed or denied. I've worked at Dulce Base for a few months now. It's a top secret underground facility in New Mexico, and everyone always talks about the strange things that happen there. My job was simple. I helped with maintaining the equipment. At least, that's what I thought. The base itself was like a labyrinth of metal corridors and dim lights. Every single day I had to walk past heavily secured doors, and I knew each of them hid mysterious experiments, but I wasn't allowed to ask questions and I didn't want to risk my job. And to be honest with you, most of the time, I didn't want to know the answers. I just wanted my paycheck. But one night, while I was working real late, everything changed forever. I was just minding my business and finishing up some repairs on a malfunctioning control panel. And that's when I heard one of the strangest noises I've ever heard in my life. It's hard to describe, but it was like a low hum, almost like a whisper. And it was coming, of course, from one of the restricted areas. But on this night, I have to admit my curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to go take a look. I knew this wasn't a good idea, but can you really blame me? I resisted looking into anything for as long as I could, but you put yourself in this situation. Can you confidently say you wouldn't check things out at least once? Anyway, I entered a hallway and it was really quiet, like eerily quiet. I approached the door where the noise was coming from, and it automatically slid open with a hiss. Inside was a long, dark passageway. I hesitated for a moment, but I figured, at this point I might as well go for it, and I stepped inside. The hum grew louder, of course. The sound was vibrating even through the walls. As I walked into the hallway, I saw a flickering light at the end of the corridor. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I was doing something wrong, but I have to admit the thrill was intoxicating. It made me feel alive. At the end of this passageway was a large, sort of steel door, and it was marked with biohazard symbols. I, of course, had never seen this door before. I took a deep breath and I pushed it open, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. The room was filled with these large glass tanks, and each one contained like a strange, unearthly creature. Some looked like twisted versions of animals, but others were these sort of grotesque human alien hybrids. I know it sounds crazy, but this is what I saw. What's even crazier is these creatures, their eyes, I could tell they were following me as I moved around the room. It sent chills up my spine. I don't know why I didn't just turn around and run out. In the center of this room was a massive machine. There was all sorts of tubes and wires connected to the tanks, and they led back to this massive machine. And that's where the humming noise was coming from. I stepped closer to the machine and saw something that made my stomach turn. Inside one of the tanks was a human, or at least what used to be a human. I can only call it and its body was covered in scales, and its fingers had transformed into sharp claws. It stared at me with empty, soulless eyes. At this point I had enough, so I turned to get out of there, but the door slammed shut behind me. I was trapped. I started panicking and the lights started flickering. I could barely see what was going on in the room. It was just shadows. I heard a loud noise and turned around, and just through the lights flickering, I could see that one of the tanks had cracked. The creature inside was trying to break free. My heart was racing. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. The glass shattered and the creature lunged out. It let out a horrifying screech that echoed through the entire room. I ran to the control panel and I tried as best as I could to find a way to open the door, but my hands were shaking as I pressed the buttons and nothing worked. I could hear the creature getting closer and its claws were scraping against the floor. I could practically feel it breathing on my neck. But just before anything happened, the door burst open and a blinding light filled the room in my eyes and it blinded me. I was pulled out by a group of armed guards and the door shut behind me. They didn't ask me any questions as they led me away. And it didn't matter because I was too shooken up to speak. The next day, they reassigned me to a different part of the base. No one even mentioned what happened to me. And of course, I didn't say anything. I still don't understand it. I think they didn't want to acknowledge it, and they couldn't get rid of me because look what I just saw. I just never went back to that part of the facility. But the memory of that night still haunts me. Now I feel like I'm trapped here in Dulce Base. I feel like if I quit, they won't let me quit. So I have to get my story out there. I have to get out of here somehow. The secret base is real and it's a place where nightmares are born. And sometimes they escape.